Welcome to another one of the director Q&As hosted by Wildscreen. I'm Emilie. I'm a wildlife filmmaker in Bristol, and today I'm joined by the brilliant Michael Grotenhoff, director of MYRIAD, Where We Connect. That's a documentary, a 360 documentary and VR production that's included in the official selection. Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
So it's an honor to be here. Thank you very much. I'm very happy and glad to have some time with your wonderful organization and to share some ideas how we tell stories in 360 or VR and how we build entire story worlds. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time. Before we dive into all of this, where are you joining us from today?
So I'm from Berlin. So it's late in the evening in Berlin. Yeah. We are based in Berlin. Berlin has become kind of a playing field for VR as well. And so that's a good place to be there to have some experiments and to find a vivid creative VR scene here as well.
I love Berlin. So I was wondering, before we sort of dive into MYRIAD, because MYRIAD is a lot of different things, I wanted to ask you a bit about your sort of background. What did you come from, work-wise, and how did that kind of lead into what MYRIAD is?
So my personal background, my working background, I'm a journalist. So I studied journalism and TV journalism, and that's what I was starting with, doing traditional TV documentaries on different topics, mainly in the field of how the digital world changes the analog world. That was my very beginning. Then we moved also into environmental topics, and a lot of things changed. And I switched into cross-media storytelling as well. So because we thought it's very exciting to tell stories from different perspectives and to dive deeper into stories with different, also from the storytelling angle, that we make some things interactive and to kind of engage the audience. And this is something I'm really interested in, and that's also the reason why we set up MYRIAD, because we want to kind of engage people, and not only by linear storytelling, also interactive storytelling.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very interactive. I've had the pleasure of watching the documentary, but I'm very excited to kind of explore the rest of it as it develops. Because, as I mentioned, MYRIAD is, it's a lot of things. It's a VR experience, it's citizen science, it's fold-on projections. How would you summarize MYRIAD for someone who hasn't seen any of it?
Yeah, so everything deals with how living creatures, animals, human and nature kind of is interconnected. And we tell the stories by exploring how complicated and challenging it is for animals to migrate. So the migration routes are kind of the combining elements, and we want to know how animals really react on human-made challenges in the Anthropocene. And we want to tell the story a little bit more positive. So we have a lot of challenges we are facing nowadays, and a lot of stories are, it's too late, it's 12:05, we cannot change anything more. And we want to show by the beautiness of animal migration, the fragile element as well. And we want to show that there is a certain possibility to change things. And it's a question of attitude as well. So how everything belongs and how everything is interconnected in a very poetical way, but also in a very scientific way, because the stories we tell, they are backed by scientists, and we have the possibility to get data from a wonderful scientific basic research. So we can show animal migration together with the Max Planck Institute, and they give us open access data, and so all this rich data can show you how the world really, the status of the world is now, because you can learn so many things from animals, and yeah, that's the basic DNA of the story. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I totally agree. I mean, I just, having studied animal behavior, migrations just blow my mind. There's still so many questions that are left unanswered, and even the data we have can be really hard to understand. So the fact that you guys, you managed to visualize it, you managed to make it immersive and engaging, is just, yeah, brilliant job. So that's really exciting. What sort of, you've kind of touched upon it, sort of the drivers behind it, but was there something specific that sparked the idea or the concept for MYRIAD? Was it, because it is so many projects, was it a bit, a little bit of it at a time, or was it the idea of all of these projects as one, kind of in one time? How did that kind of start?
So perhaps I have to go back a little bit into time, because it's typical how we start projects. We had another VR project, and we have the documentary backgrounds. So that means we always start with documentary related topics. And we did a couple of years ago a TV series on river deltas, and we showed how important river deltas is, what life is around and everything. And we also thought, okay, it's nice to have a TV documentary series, but we want to dive deeper therein as well. And we started with a VR experience called Inside Tumukumake. It's a VR experience. You can dive into a certain Amazon area. It's the biggest Amazon remote area in Brazil. And we decided to show the beautiness and also the fragility. You can dive into the senses of animals. And that's for me VR. VR is a kind of empathy machine. You can really switch into different perspectives. And this VR experience was kind of very successful. And to get to MYRIAD, we had the possibility to showcase it in front of zoo directors in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. There was a big symposium, and they wanted to know what is it all about VR, and they were kind of afraid of VR because zoos are always kind of under attack. Everybody thinks zoos, they just capture animals, and this is not the work. They try to save species, so they do a lot of things in the background to save species. And then we showed them this VR experience we made, and they were kind of intrigued because I think they felt that it's possible to make certain messages possible to evoke empathy. And then they came up with a very strange bird. This bird, the Bald Ibis, is one core bird of the entire experience, MYRIAD. And the bird wouldn't have survived without having the zoos in the background because it's nearly extinguished. It doesn't exist in the wilderness anymore, and they managed to let it live, and it survives in zoos. And it was a nice story they told us because there's a wonderful reintroduction project to bring it back to the wild, and that's one of the cores of MYRIAD. But it was only one puzzle piece because we thought, okay, it's a nice story, it's a wonderful thing, but there should be more. There should be more context. And then we discovered that this scientific project is one part of a very big project of the Max Planck Institute. And they try to gather, as I said, all the data all around the world, and they do it with a Yeah, ISS antenna. So they were able to set up an antenna at the International Space Station, ISS, to track and to monitor migrating animals. And this data package and this real-time data is so rich that they can forecast so many things about how climate change affects migration, how animals react on urbanization, so many things. And this is something which is the core of the whole project, because then we said, okay, this makes sense to combine everything and to go deeper into different migration stories and to tell, yeah, the stories in a different way.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there is a lot more, kind of even more than what you already worked with for MYRIAD. There's just so much potential, but if it's not, made visual, if it's not made engaging or immersive, it probably won't stick with people. And I mean, even the documentary that I saw, it's a really strange bird that you might not fall in love with otherwise, but the whole story and the concept of this reintroduction, this release into the wild, and I would advise everyone to go see it, because first of all, it's fun. You can kind of look wherever you want in this, film, because it's 3D, it's 360. And following this massive project with these keepers who raise these birds and then fly with them down along the migratory route that the birds kind of have to relearn, because they were never taught by, other older birds, which is how these birds learn. It's just, it's amazing. It's quite outstanding. And to see it makes it even more, to sort of, you feel a little bit like you're in the film because it's made the way it is, which is just brilliant. I was wondering how long, roughly did it take from sort of the concept of this story that you were told by the zoos to completing? I mean, MYRIAD is still an ongoing project in all of it, but the film, how long did that take?
So it took nearly 3.5 years. So we started shortly before COVID captured everything. And so the first contact was, I think, in the beginning of 2019, the end of 2018. And then we really nailed it down, and we said, okay, is it possible to film it? So because it's not so easy to film their work with 360 cameras, we had to kind of do a lot of tests to bring the cameras onto the little planes, because a lot of technical challenges. It always shivers, so you have to find possibilities that the picture is stable, that all the lenses, and when you stitch this picture, that it really works. So there was a lot of research and try and error as well. And in the meantime, we set up the entire MYRIAD world. And perhaps I can mention one wonderful element, because I hope it's also you can feel and see it in the 360 documentary. The basic element we are working with is a kind of carbon. So we try to find a thing, the lowest element all life is combined with, and this is carbon in a negative and a positive way. And this is the artistic DNA of the entire project. And I was very happy to work with other directors and artists, because when we sat together and we said, okay, what's the message of MYRIAD? That everything is connected. So that's the subtitle, where everything is connected. What's the connection element? And they closed themselves up a couple of weeks, and then they came out of they're kind of self-capturing, and they had black hands, and they were playing around with charcoal. And this is the element we now use for the entire world. So that means we are setting up an entire immersive installation, and carbon blocks will be the physical element as well. So we will project animal stories on carbon blocks. We will play around with the particle system, as you might have seen in the 360. In the interactive VR experience, it's much more, because everything consists out of carbon particles. So the landscapes are built, the animals, how they move, everything is kind of carbon. So, and
that sounds amazing. I mean, that sounds like the coolest sort of exhibition, immersive exhibition ever. I can't wait to see it one day. It sounds like you kind of mentioned already there are quite a lot of challenges making, even just the film. For the documentary, what would you say was kind of the biggest challenge, and what would you say was your most sort of like your favorite moment in the production, kind of those two, the best and the worst?
So you are a documentary filmmaker as well, and filming with children and filming with animals is
they tell you never to do
challenge ever. So the biggest challenge was very simple, to set up a filming schedule. So beside of all the technical challenges, because the birds, they are not machines. They themselves decide when they want to migrate. So from one, it's a long distance they have to overcome, but they decide when they will go further. And we had to wait a lot. And the weather was a big problem. Of course, in the Alps, it always changes, and so we were kind of very dependent on several decisions and waiting. But it was a wonderful team. So the scientists behind the whole project, they were helping a lot. But to be very honest, some shooting parts didn't take place because we got a call and it was not possible simply in terms of time manner to be there then. And so that's also a practical part of the decision that we said we combine some animation and the physical shooting so that we're able to tell the whole story, because we missed the final landing, and that was not possible.
No, that's wildlife filmmaking in a nutshell, isn't it? You can never, it's hard to predict. And I think it was really clever the way you then, because I didn't think about it watching the film, that you might have missed something, and that's why you added sort of the animated elements of the carbon and the birds. But that makes sense, but it worked really well still.
I think in the end of the day, it was the best decision because, as I said, the artistic vision behind it comes through a little bit better now. And so the combination is not something just to overcome challenges. It makes it a little bit more rich, I think, now.
Yeah. That's definitely a quite sort of a positive side to all of it, that it actually sometimes things just work out, the way they're supposed to. I have a few more questions before we have to wrap this up, but just sort of quickly, you've sort of touched on it already, but what would you say some of the main benefits of making this, because you could have made this as a visual, stunning film, but you chose to make it quite immersive. What do you think are the main benefits of that?
So our hope is that people are more motivated and more engaged because this is not just a linear narrative project. We want to really, by the beautiness of animal migration, we want to touch the people, and we want to put them into the middle of the whole thing, and we want to make them feel that they are a very important integrated part of the whole system. And this works with interactive elements. So it's our experience very well. And that's the reason why we also decide to have an interactive, immersive installation, because people come. And then in the end of the day, we hope that we motivate the people to act, to help. And a lot of citizen science projects are linked to the project in the end of the day. So the big question, how I can save the planet, is such a big thing. So that we didn't solve the problem. And but finding possibilities to give the people motivation to go step by step, to, for example, count animals in front of their door, to know how migration is not only the big migration you have in front of your neighborhood, you have migration, and so that you are a kind of citizen scientist who feeds with information, whatever. This is, for example, one part we are thinking about, and we are working together with a lot of different scientific organizations, and they give us the possibility to link MYRIAD in, and that's the idea itself.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I think it's very clever how, as you were kind of touching on now, that you have migration is, you know, it's not just global. It's not just, you know, a massive journey from one pole to the other, you know, across the whole world. It's so local as well. It's whether or not it's just a short journey, or if it's because, you know, some birds or other animals, insects will stop in your area at a time of year on their journey. It's so kind of both things, and you can use the whole sort of, you know, the big scale of things to really marvel at the world and these animals, but at the same time you can use the local aspect to get people even more involved, like you said, with the citizen science projects and getting people engaged, which I think is that's such a great sort of way to present also some of the struggles and issues that the animals face, that the world face right now. And kind of coming back to, we've talked about it a bit, but what would be your, if we kind of do it local and global, your sort of goals for the production's impact?
So you mean, is it possible to do it both? So it's to localize is very important.
Yeah, so I mean, because when you made this project, were you hoping to have mainly a local impact, or were you hoping for it to, you know, be global? It's, I mean, this film has received a lot of, you know, really good sort of reviews, and a lot of really interesting points have been made about it, and the whole project itself across a whole host of, you know, awards and across the world. So were you hoping for a local effect? Are you kind of, were you planning for a bigger, you know, this big an audience to be this excited?
So I think to kind of to combine local effects and to add them and to have a lot of local impacts, you can make it more global. So we hope to travel with the project. So we are in a status where we really nail down all the elements of the immersive installation, and this is something you will find in museums also as a touring experience, and this is something which will be local, but also hoping to go abroad. But we're gonna start in Germany. I cannot tell where now because it's kind of negotiations are nearly finished, but so we are very hopeful that we're going to start in the end of next year, and this is something local, but it's going global then as well. Yeah,
great. I mean, it's already doing so well, so I just can't wait to see how it evolves in the future. So for sort of wrapping up this lovely talk, I don't want to wrap it up, but we have to. I was wondering if there is anyone you would like to connect with or collaborate with, you know, taking this further, and how can they contact you?
So we are always interested in talents, and so I'm happy to connect with other colleagues and to add some new layers to MYRIAD. So MYRIAD just started, so I think there's space enough to have other stories and other possibilities to make it even more interactive. So I'm inviting everybody with creative ideas, knock onto our door, and let's have a talk about to make this world richer. And what's really interesting, this is one experience I love to share, working with scientists, because scientists, they have so many different stories, and they are looking forward to share the stories and to find people who find a possibility to to boil it down and really to bring out the message. And I love working together with scientists. So from the very beginning of MYRIAD, everything was not only double checked, also the stories itself. They brought us the stories. For example, we have in the interactive VR experience the story of a polar fox. Normally, polar foxes do not migrate. And this is a wonderful story because a polar fox decided to go from northern Norway to over Greenland to Alaska because of climate change, searching for new possibilities to survive. That's a fascinating story. We weren't able to get without having the scientists at our side, and they were all the time checking the stories. Does it really work? Is it told like the scientific back was right? And so that's really something very important.
Yeah, I love that it's based in science. It really just kind of drives the point that we have all the information we need to tell these stories. So if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you?
I think the very, very traditional way, dropping an email is wonderful. So I think that always works best because then we have the possibility to react. So you find all the information on the project web page as well. There's contact data, and I think that's the best way. Brilliant.
I'm sure we can organize having all that information in the description below. Well, we are unfortunately out of time, Michael. This has been lovely, lovely meeting you, chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining me today for this Q&A and for creating such an immersive and beautiful project. I can't wait to see what's next for MYRIAD. So thank you very much.
I have to thank, we are very happy to show the next level of the project. And it's an honor to take part at Wildscreen. That was not only fun, but also an honor. Thank you very much.
It should be fun. Good. All right. Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay. Goodbye. Thank you.
MYRIAD, Where We Connect, is available for Wildscreen Festival delegates on the online film library until 16th of December. The link to the film library is in the description. If you have not yet purchased the festival pass, you can visit the Eventbrite link in the description.